Good morning. A bit chillier today. Even I'm feeling it, and I'm usually quite good with the cold. Well, it's Friday, and I hope you had a reasonable week and have a good weekend coming up. Very quick video today, really quick actually, because we are slowly entering the holiday season, and most people celebrate in one form or another this time of the year, whether it's Christmas or whether it's Yuletide or solstice or whatever it is. Um, there is usually a celebration in winter for most people. And I find that this time of the year comes with enormous pressure as well. There's pressure to be jolly, there's a pressure to be joyful, thankful, spend a lot of time with family. There's obviously some pressure for gifts, but I think most people will say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. It's about spending time with a loved one. Giving is better than receiving. But probably most of us will have to admit that actually we do quite like receiving gifts as well. And also there's a almost an excuse for behavior which we probably wouldn't engage in other times of the year. We probably spend more, eat more, drink more, all sorts of other stuff. There's a almost an excuse to completely let loose and just basically indulge in whatever we like. Because we work hard all year and we just want a treat. And that's, understandable. I suppose my message today really is about how to manage the season. In whatever way you choose to celebrate. Um, for some of us, it's about getting in touch with people we haven't in a long time, reconnecting with family, spending time with loved ones, and all the rest of it. Others might not find it quite. So, others have lost ties with families, have lost family members. The families that they come from are toxic. They actually would rather do anything that avoids spending time with family, and the pressure of doing so is extraordinary. I talk to clients every day about their anxiety and their almost dread at having to meet with, Uncle Joe who did something, I don't know, 20 years ago, or about having Auntie Mary and Auntie Claire in the same room because they've had a fallout 10 years ago and the tension is still there. Some of them just don't really want to be around their parents. Some people find certain parts of the family to be incredibly dismissive, invalidating, triggering, and so on. And beyond this kind of pressure to be with family and be nice to family, is also the theme about having to be joyful and thankful and jolly and all the rest of it. And some people just don't feel it. Some people are struggling. Some of us are just don't want to be told all the time to smile more and be thankful and, have a cup of eggnog and a mince pie and all the rest of it. And some people, of course, are alone at Christmas and at winter holidays and whatever. They just don't really have a huge amount of people around them for whatever reason. Not necessarily because they not sociable, but just because they don't have a support network or family around them because they're away and so on. So I suppose the message today really is to just try and get through the season the way you want it. Um, Whether you want to isolate yourself and do your own thing, that's perfectly cool. Whether you want to start putting some boundaries in your family, saying like, I'm going to spend, an hour or two with you doing this, but I'm not going to engage in all-day games and shenanigans I don't really want to, like I've done in past years. Some people find extraordinary pressure to maybe be around other people's families, like their partners' families, for example. And even if you get on with them, there might be a strain on your mental state. All of this is okay. I suppose it's the season where it's okay to say no. If you don't want to go to that office party, if you really feel uncomfortable around lots and lots and lots of people, and your partner's family is, humongous. If you find your own family toxic, and actually you're quite happy to send a card or send a little gift, or just hear from them on the phone, but actually you don't feel like engaging with them on a socially, that's okay as well. If you're by yourself, it's okay to do things that make you happy. Um, I suppose that the idea really is here, when we think about families especially, are they the type of people that we want to be around if they weren't our family? Now, if the answer to that is yes, and there are people that we would probably be friends with anyway, then it's cool. But what about if that's not the case? What about that if the only things that connects us to these people is the fact that we're family, but actually we're very little common? And especially with members of the LGBTQI plus community who have been shunned for families. This time of the year hits particularly hard because it reminds them of how invalidated they are and how abandoned they are by their own families. So I suppose in that respect, it's about finding your own tribe and being with people you actually love. They don't have to be family. They could easily just be people that you actually love and you feel loved by. So I think that's rule number one. Would you spend time with people if they weren't your family? And if the answer is no, then Christmas is no excuse to put yourself through that, essentially. You're not a curmudgeon, you're not a Scrooge, you're not a whatever. You're just a person that's looking after their triggers and after their mental health, and it's self-regulating, and it's an element of self-care to not want to not be pressured to be around people that you potentially don't like and actually are mean to you or invalidating to you anyway. So there's a phenomenal amount of pressure on all of us this year to behave in a certain way. And I suppose the message today is it's okay to say no to that. It's okay to impose boundaries. It's okay to celebrate in whatever way you see fit. To have, excuse me, your own little traditions. To have your own way of celebrating whatever it is you are celebrating. And just be done with the whole pressure of the turkey and the presents and the around the table and family games and crackers and eggnog and all the nonsense that we see on television sometimes. And just do it with your tribe, with the people that you genuinely love. Or if you have to be by yourself, do it in a way that comforts you and shows you self-care rather than pressuring yourself into interactions which actually make it worse for you. And remember, it's in a sense there is this kind of understanding that you have to take stock of your life, that you somehow have to judge what you've been through and where you're going, and New Year resolutions and all sorts of stuff that we do this month. None of that is actually a thing if you don't make it a thing. Life isn't about beginnings and endings, and it's not an accounting book where you have to every year take stock of your life and then make all these promises and resolutions and all the rest of it that might not actually resonate, but other people tell you that you should be doing and all the rest of it. It's actually about the series of experiences that you have. And they're sort of blended into one. There's no end to one experience necessarily and beginning of another. Very few things in life are that finite. It's certainly not from an emotional point of view. It's just a kind of melange. It's a blend of various experiences you go through. It's not a series of dots. It's actually just a string. It's a wave that we're all riding on. And ultimately, as long as you manage to look after yourself and show yourself some care and some empathy and try to resist the pressures of the season, I think that'll be a lot more useful and a lot healthier for you going forwards, rather than constantly having to buy this kind of a spirit of Christmas, which you might not feel or might not really necessarily want to be part of. So ultimately, show yourself some self-care, show yourself some self-empathy, and do what makes you happy regardless of what the social pressures are. Have a good one.